call it, May 21st meeting to order. Have a roll call with Mr. Manning.
Okay. District 1, Mr. Guthrie. Present. District 2, Mr. Venable.
Present.
District 3, Ms. Gilbert.
Present.
And District 4, Mr. Sid.
Present.
Quorum is present. We'll have an invocation by Mr. Porter and a pledge by Mr.
Lord God, our Father, you're the creator of all things in heaven and on this earth. We're thankful for that. We're thankful for those that are serving this county, those that choose public service. We're thankful for them. We pray that for this commission that meets today, you'll give them wisdom and discernment to make good decisions for the people of the county. We pray you'll continue to watch over us and guide us each and every day. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next, we'll take a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And we have any comments from public citizens? Nobody signed up to speak? All right, no awards, so I guess we'll go into discussion items. Commission, first to discuss telemate master service agreement. Who's taking the lead on that?
Mr. Porter, probably. We've worked on this for quite a while, but he's got the synopsis.
We have been working on this for a hair more than a year, I think, to try to get this in place. And just as a way of background, Telemate currently has the telephone service that is used for the inmates at the jail. And we've been discussing and negotiating with them about putting in video services. I think they were here about a year ago, maybe a little bit more, and brought some of their equipment with them. They had iPads, basically destruction-proof iPads, or so they say. They can go in the jail, and this will allow inmates, for a cost, to communicate, to watch videos, to do things in limited nature. But it will provide that service to the jail, and we'll make money off of it. So that's basically what it is. It doesn't. There is no upfront cost. If you remember, when we went and allowed them to have the telephone service, there were some upfront costs that we basically had to bear, and they took it out of our pay for a number of years. But this one, there's no upfront cost. There's no reimbursement to them for the cost of the equipment. I don't know how much money the jail will make. I don't know if y'all have an estimate about it.
Did you tell them that it relieves the amount too?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the only question. I thought it did.
Any remaining debt, actually, that's paid off. That was part of the deal, but that's been paid off, so there is no more debt. There will be a repayment bonus that they'll pay us. It's somewhere in the neighborhood of $8,900. Right. They'll write us a check for that because of the time it took them to get this in place. But I'll be glad to answer any questions I can. The sheriff is familiar with the product, and Mr. Manning's looked at it too, so it's probably a good thing for everybody.
How they followed up with everything they supposedly supposed to do for us then?
As far as I know, this
Yes. Finally. It took a while to get there.
Well, I knew we had some issues there last year.
We did.
And, so they have come forward and done everything they should.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Any further discussion? If there's no objection, we'll place this on next week's agenda. Next item, discuss the fund to provide volunteer contributions for school resource officers. I had talked to Laurel over at our solid waste, and they could send out a mailer. I thought we was going to send a letter over, didn't we? We don't have that in our packet.
I haven't seen the letter yet.
What it is, and it's a question for Mr. Porter, more so than anything else if the commission is interested in pursuing it. They were gonna put a letter in with our billing, ask for volunteer contributions for school resource officers. That's on the mass mailing that we do. But there would have to be a fund set up, and we would have to designate who was gonna be over the fund, and any checks that were sent in would have to be deposited in that fund and dispersed however, we felt like it needed to be, which would be for school resource officers and any direct costs, for school resource officers.
Yeah, just looking at this briefly, I don't know of any prohibition on us doing that. It'd be a matter of setting up the fund and figuring out the details on how it's gonna be paid out and who qualifies and those kind of things. But I think it can be done, it's just a matter of getting paperwork.
And if the programmatic solid waste that they use, that current program that they use, if it would be, I'm assuming it would be capable to track that in there as their payments come in, so.
Yeah, our only concern was, if we had people just add money to their bill,
And didn't,
they can't do that. It would have to be a separate check because it would be difficult for them to sort those dollars out.
that's what I was wondering, yeah.
But, if it's something that the commission wants to pursue, maybe we can have it on the next work session or something. Probably not ready to vote on it next week, but, it's something that we do need to try to get done before July, because that's when our mailing goes out, and we'll try to get it in that mailing if possible. And then maybe we can secure some funds if we get any participation before the next school year.
Jason, are you looking at trying to hire another one or use this for training?
Depends on what dollars
How
come
much
in,
you get in?
and we would only be able to obligate what dollars came in for the following school year each time,
So it wouldn't be recurring, nothing definite.
yeah. So, I would suggest that we write it up to, pay salaries for school resource officers or direct costs to having school resource officers. So if we, need to buy equipment or vehicles or whatever for that direct cost, that purpose. And then we need to decide who's gonna be over that fund. I would suggest that we put a panel together and be over, I don't know, anybody else got any suggestions on how would we disperse the fund? I don't think it would be a good idea for the commission to disperse voluntary funds or the sheriff's department. I think we'd be better served if we had a panel to do that.
And that's be made up of, law enforcement, school board, individual citizens.
Yeah, individual, I don't know, just whatever we decide.
What is your thought on it, Rocky? I mean, without, knowing anything like we do right now.
Me or Rocky? You said.
I said Rocky, I meant sheriff.
Well, the less money I'm over, the better, as far as I'm concerned. I agree with Jason. Somebody from the school board, one of us, maybe one of y'all or something like that. That sounds good to me. Depending on how much you get in, if you get in $31,000, we can hire another one.
It'd be on a year-to-year basis, though.
Right, it would be, and then I've got one man in mind that would take that. I'm not real sure how, he actually just wants to work the Bridgeport area. So, that's not gonna work when you got somebody at section putting money in there. They're gonna want somebody at section too, but that's gonna free up the other two that they wouldn't have to go to Bridgeport ever. But then again, he may wanna work outside of Bridgeport, I don't know.
I think for the expenditure of funds, you can have a panel to make a recommendation. I don't think anybody other than the commission can direct funds to be paid from the commission. But you can certainly have a committee that said, we recommend this, and nothing,
But if we're going this route, I believe we might ought to put stipulations with resource officers on there. The safety issue, but I mean, you mentioned the sheriff's cars and things, so what's coming up.
Not sheriff's cars, it would be.
Resource.
Resource
cars.
officer vehicles.
Right, but I know they're gonna kind of look back, and that's gonna kind of throw a bad taste, maybe in the sheriff's department. I think everybody's looking for resource officers right now, for safety issues, in my opinion.
The problem is they have to have cars.
With a limited number and 17 campuses, they have to be mobile, so.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you this, the last 4 cars we just bought, depleted the federal inmate fund that we have been using for the past 11 years.
It's coming.
And so from now on, I'm gonna be depending on y'all to help buy cars. And we usually end up buying, 2 to 4 a year. The 4 we just bought cost us $138,000.
Well, we can have this on the next work session.
More discussion.
It'd be good to get with Daryl and see what they're.
Right, and we also might wanna make sure too that you don't, it's not to where like somebody that lives, say, in one area, say, well, I want it to go just toward this school.
Yeah.
Because with that many schools, that would be a quagmire. If people started saying, I just wanted to go to this one school, and you got resource officers trying to, you know.
All right, and the next item for discussion is the Matheny's Bridge. I think Mr. Campbell has something for us on that.
What's that first one, closest to you? Thank you. Thank you, Chairman, Commissioners. I just want to take a few minutes to talk about Matheny's Bridge. I know it's a project among others that we have discussed as possibilities of being able to fund it maybe locally, but I know at least I think we're all in agreement that there's, this and other projects are priorities for us, but I think this one kind of necks out, and I hope this shows why, on something we would like to consider on taking action sooner rather than later. And so my goal today is just to bring some awareness and some information to you about this project. And then also, for in the future, if there are funding possibilities, that we consider this as an option for us maybe going forward. And then lastly, I passed out a sheet before the meeting started, and there's some funding in there and some scribbles, and I'll lead into that at the end. So, Matheny's Bridge, it is it is located near the town of Macedonia, so we're just south of Macedonia on County Road 43. Spans South Saudi Creek, and it's at our DeKalb County border. This bridge was built in 1956, so it's seen a service life of 62 years currently. It's a 6-span structure, the longest which is a 100-foot span, for a total of almost 410 feet of bridge. It's 80 feet tall at its apex, and it's the longest and tallest bridge in our county. Constructed with a concrete substructure, steel girders, and cast-in-place concrete deck, it sees an ADT of 1,100 vehicles a day, 16% of which is. It is, by grading standards, structurally deficient. And that's a classification given to bridges which has a poor or worse component in the bridge. And the problem with Matheny's is the deck structure. So this bridge was initially posted in 2009 due to the substructure being under-designed. 34-ton triaxle, lowered to 15 tons gross load posted since December of 16 due to that deck condition. And it increased its inspection frequency to every 12 months instead of 2 years. So the deck has large areas with deteriorated concrete, including large spalls, heavy map cracking and abrasion. That's a shot there of a hole that developed, full depth in the deck. So the only option once you get to that point is full depth replacement. So you have to go in and do a removal from girder to girder. So split a girder on each side of that, and then the length of that is determined by the deteriorated concrete that exists in that spall. In January of this year, we called in favor to ALDOT and had one of the bridge repair superintendents that I was familiar with. He was kind enough to come out and chain the deck for us, and it's an older technique, but it's a sounding method, and it shows essentially the delaminated concrete. It's pretty obvious by the sound of the chain when you encounter delamination. So as we would encounter those areas, we also tried to mark those just to get a visual representation of how much of the deck we're looking at with issues. And as you can see from that photo, we're looking at one end, but the foreground of the picture, you know, it's checkerboarded through that side, and it's actually the foreground, the other end of the bridge, where you just saw that large hole or spall that was full depth. So his estimation was, with all the areas identified, within the next 5 years, we're going to see full depth spalls or holes. Just some shots here of the unsound concrete and the porous nature and the problems it's caused, and we're in the process of patching. And we can do some patches, but they're temporary. And so when you have porous concrete, map crack and the abrasion on top, the porosity allows the water to penetrate the deck, and it infiltrates down through the structure and permeates the bottom of the concrete. So the freeze-thaw mechanism continues throughout that deck structure, and you'll start to see spall and exposed rebar spalls on the lower end. So what you're seeing on top is a good indication of why things are happening, but when you get underneath, you really see the effects of the deterioration of it just being able to be saturated. So shot on the right, you can see where a full depth repair has been done in some of these worse areas. I would suspect the hole came all the way through the deck and they had to go in and do some full depth patches. Some of the spalls and delamination occurring. This is underneath now, like I was referring to.
Now, all of this is on the deck, right? There's none of it on the superstructure.
Right. Yeah. So the substructure is, you see there on the left, we're concrete from the creek bottom all the way up to the girders, and then it's a steel beam girders, starting the super. That picture's a little deceiving. Those are 36-inch girders there, so that's 100-foot span is basically that longest one you're looking at. But the substructure is, for all purposes, okay. It's the superstructure, which is the deck, that's the issue. Some more shots of some delamination that's occurring underneath. So then we think, well, we know that it's a matter of time and this bridge will have to be replaced. And so trying to wrap our hands around the cost of replacing the longest, tallest bridge in the county, we arrive at some of the data you see up there. So it's, we know because of that alignment. So the vertical alignment it's in a sag now. We have County Road 52 that comes in on the Jackson County side, and DeKalb County Road 43 that connects just beyond the bridge. So, when we look at logistics on this and replacing it, we have to make allowance for time with those roadways, and to meet current standards, we would have to revisit the vertical alignment. So we're looking at a longer bridge to get it up out of that hole that it's in, and then accommodating the tie-in. So, and when you couple that with the, I don't know how they can build it in here, but at least 2 years of the roadway being closed, we're looking at possibly building a structure beside that structure, and then trying to accommodate the county roads and the vehicle traffic while the construction's taking place to avoid the 14-mile detour. So if you're disturbing ground that hasn't previously been disturbed, so when you get environmental clearances and all the documents required to satisfy that, we may be 10 million, we may be over 10 million. I'm not really sure, but just based on pricing that we have from bridge construction, as similar as we can find, we're looking at least 3 million just in the bridge, not the other items. So alternatives to that, hydro demolition, which I've got a few photos on hydro demolition, but it's essentially a robot that travels on a structure, and it traverses the deck back and forth, and it is on an angle, about a 45-degree angle, and it's intense high-pressure water jet streams that demolish the concrete, and this is calibrated in to a strength, a target strength of concrete that you want to remain. So this robot can travel on this rail, set at an angle, and it can demo the concrete to 4,000 psi, 4,500 psi, whatever it's calibrated in for that deck to get the optimal removal to rid the delamination. So the goal would be to get down low enough to where we're past that delamination that's in the top part of the deck. We're down to some sound concrete, and we've removed this concrete without totally demolishing all the mats of steel, all the concrete that's good, only taking out the bad, leaving what's good, and leaving a highly bondable surface for the new overlay. So you've got a clean, sound surface to pour back against that's abrasive for bonding. And that overlay that's been around since the 60s is a latex modified concrete. It's specifically designed to be able to use in thin thicknesses. It says there hydraulic cement aggregates combined at the time of mixing the latex emulsion. So this is on-site mixing that has to occur to make this concrete, but this is nothing new. The additives allow for it allows for two things, or makes two things. It makes a strong, thin concrete for one, but number two, it makes a very impenetrable surface for water. So it's a small void tight mix that's basically waterproof, for lack of a better term. That's a shot of a deck that was hydro demoed, and you can see they are down to basically that first rebar mat. So somewhere within that first 2 inches of the slab, you're likely to encounter that first rebar mat, and you can tell there it's found an area that was worse than the other, and it's gone all the way to the steel and a little bit further, whereas it's left it on the other areas.
Now,
What about those areas that come all the way through though?
The areas that's a good question. We are likely to encounter areas that it will blow completely through.
what about underneath where it's not so bad on top, but it's bad underneath?
Yeah, the top is gonna be the worst as far as condition wise, but I think y'all's question is the same. We could encounter an area where it's so bad on top that it's reached all the way down to that lower level, and when this robot hits it, it blows completely through that. That is treated like a full depth repair. So they come in essentially and form underneath and let that latex concrete fill that void and bond into that as well.
But you wouldn't go back from girder to girder in
would
that
not.
spot unless it was a massive spot.
When this product is in there, it would be monolithic. So it would be able to carry, you know what I mean? It's gonna be like a new slab that we carry instead of a,
So really, that sounds to me like, because the temperature wouldn't bother as bad, the freezing and the thawing.
yeah,
Right?
once you prevent that water from penetrating the concrete, you've taken care of the freeze thaw. So that's a shot of latex modified concrete going down. This looks like either a half lane application here or something, but it works with traditional concrete tools. Now they don't have all the time in the world, and it's batch mixed on site, so time is of the essence, but it's traditional concrete, it's traditional concrete tools. It finishes very similar to traditional concrete, and these contractors that would be solicited to do this work are familiar with this, and it's done in other states on a regular basis. Cost and time, $250 per square yard of deck. And so, milling, hydro demolition, furnishing, installing latex modified concrete, and water control. So you may wonder why there's milling in there when I didn't talk about milling. Another consideration for this type project and a bridge with this lengthy of spans and slender of members is the weight we're going to add to the bridge that's not already existing. So, and our goal would be on Matheny's to mill out existing and hydro demo after the milling to accommodate whatever we're going to put back. So we want to, when it's all said and done, we want to have milled and hydro demoed and taken out the same amount we're putting back, so as not to add dead load to the structure and So, you know, this is not done every day. We did it at the state, and I got some slides of that, and had success, but I couldn't remember all the details. So, we had Pat Martins to come up and look at it. Pat Martins worked with Ed Liberati's group to do the state project that we did, and Pat was agreeable to coming up and looking at the project. He is the bridge preservation engineer. Bridge Preservation and Inspection Services is his outfit, but he's located in Missouri. He was an old Missouri DOT guy, and he promotes the industry for one, but he's also done it for Missouri DOT and then after retiring privately. But he works with Hydro Demo, the other contractor side of it, to make sure projects are success. So he flew in and looked at the bridge with us. And our main questions for Pat were, where are we at the stage of life of this structure, and where in the range are we for hydro demo even be an option? Are we too far gone? You know, do we have some time? Is there a more affordable preservation, something we're overlooking? And he felt that we are catching the bridge, if we could act soon, at an appropriate time. And going back and looking at the state project, our bridge is in a lot better condition than theirs was when they did it. So we feel like at the stage that it's at now, we're catching it at probably a really good time. Maybe even it's in better shape than some of the others that have been done. So 480 feet, 22 feet wide, that's the square yard. It runs out to $250,000. Design, safety features, ancillary costs, another $100,000. We're looking at $350,000. And then they think they can do the work in 10 days, but so we think 2 weeks is reasonable on closure. This is the state project that I mentioned. It's on State Route 127 in Limestone County over the Elk River. Really large structure, very similar to ours. Concrete sub, steel beam girder, and bad deck. On the right is a present, to date, finished picture of the deck in its current state.
So that $350,000, that wouldn't be with us any labor?
That's all contract. Yeah, what we would do if we wanted to move forward with this is we would do the plans. Pat helped us with specs. He's basically got hydro demo specs from Missouri and latex concrete specs that he liked out of Illinois. So we would look with that and look at the ALDOT specs and try to, you know, couple all that together and come up with a set of plans. Solicit comments most likely, solicit bids, and then, you know, make a recommendation for you guys to award a project to hydro demolition contractor. But it would all be contract work. Now, anything we could partner with and save costs, like the water handling, traffic control, all those things that they want to move in and do hydro demolition and pour back concrete. So all the other parts of that project, yes, we would do as we could to save money.
That's what I was wondering.
Yeah.
Well, one side of the creek is Jackson County, and the other side of the bridge is DeKalb County.
I know where you're saying.
Is it all our bridge, or is DeKalb County willing to?
Unfortunately, the DeKalb County line is across the bridge.
Yeah, just
Here in the courthouse, isn't it?
Yeah.
But if they shut it off, there would be,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
problems for them.
Because you look,
yeah. We can't afford to do it. It's gonna affect them. I mean, it's worth a question to see if they would be willing to partner with us.
Sure, I can ask that question.
Can I be there when you do?
Yeah. But I go ahead and tell you, it's our bridge.
Yeah. Well, how does that work? How does one side of it airs? I mean,
It's called mapping in a county line.
well, I know, but I mean, is the Crate Bank the dividing line?
No, it's
it's past
probably,
It's past the bridge.
it's
But
probably a
some-
quarter of a
It's on
mile.
the
Oh,
road,
okay,
somewhere,
okay,
that's
okay,
the
okay.
bridge.
Well,
About a quarter of a
that's
mile.
what I was asking.
Yeah.
Because I thought earlier you said that the creek was the line.
Sometimes the creek is the line. And then I
Unfortunately,
think
not in this case.
it's the southernmost or northernmost county owns the bridge, but it stays, there's a method.
They had smarter mappers than we did back then.
They need to pay.
You're right.
I think it's the southernmost county owns the bridge, if I'm not mistaken, and that came up in the Bucks Pocket project. You know, our line's down there, their line's down there, Marshall County's there, and they replaced that bridge.
And that is why it's closed right now, by the way? Is that why the
Oh,
it's up?
Bucks Pocket,
Mhm.
it was repaired, should be open.
Somebody had posted a picture on Facebook about it being closed, but anyway.
For that same fella sitting on a pothole.
Okay, so that's the, that was kind of fast and all inclusive, but do you guys have any questions? Some good questions you asked. Are there any others?
A lot easier to get 350,000 than 3 million.
Yeah, I think 3 million probably wouldn't touch it. I'd say you're south of 10, but more than 5, 7, 8, maybe 10, maybe more. I mean, it just really all depends, but it's gonna be a serious undertaking.
What would be the life expectancy if we did build this project
I think 20 to 30 years.
in 30 years?
With the hydro.
We'll say it would be cheaper to do it every 20 to 30 years.
What do you think your timeline is before we have to take some action on it?
He thought within the next 5 years we would see holes in that deck. So we can do full depth repairs and, you know, keep inspecting it every year and keep lowering the posting as that condition deteriorates. But, you know, it's gonna keep getting worse.
Well, and as it progresses, at some point, it's not gonna be a candidate for the hydro,
Right.
and then you're talking
Yeah.
about a lot more.
Yeah, you know,
So what kind of time frame are we looking?
you know, we can't put that robot on a deck and everything just shatter, you know what I mean? So, I don't know, maybe we have a couple of years left, maybe one, maybe not. I mean, I
It
really,
depends on weather and
really does, it really does.
traffic.
But with the hole that was already there and some of the deterioration, he thought this would still be the
He
plan.
did, yeah, and it was a lot better underneath. I didn't have any underneath pictures of 127, but the underneath of 127 looks way worse than the Thinny's Bridge underneath. And that's another consideration, you know, you're gonna be left with that lower part of the deck if it don't blow through. So as this thing deteriorates and efflorescence continues and those falls occur, and the bar is exposed, all that's still gonna be with you if we do hydro demo at some point.
And your hydro now, 300,000, maybe 500.
The more places it blows through all the way, the more expensive it just got.
So if we don't take some action on it this summer, we definitely need to look at it in the 2019 budget.
I think sooner, you know, sooner than later is better, but, you know, we've got problems like this everywhere. I don't know that it's on the biggest and tallest bridge we own, but you all know and see it. It's rampant and it's countywide. This is just the monster of Jackson County, you know, for us, so. Okay, so that was the good news. Now here's the bad news. So the sheet I handed out that has the scribbles on it, I just kind of wanted to give a recap, basically, of dollars and cents on where we're at and how I kind of see this fitting into what we're trying to do now and what we're already obligated and chose to do. Thank you, Gary. So the 111 cash balance would be where I would assume this would come from. And so that looks like a healthy balance if you look at the highlighted green number, but then we also have to be mindful of the things that are encumbered or in the works. So I'll just run through that kind of quickly, and that's what's below it in my scribbles. Local road resurfacing, so I've got 200,000 there. That's basically going to be the 111 portion. So we had somewhere around 8 miles, and it may not be quite 200,000. It comes out of 111 because remember, a lot of that is material costs that can be paid out of 100, but I think that's very conservative in saying 200,000 to do the local road resurfacing. Then we have federal aid resurfacing. We've paid 100,000 already for County Road 63. We have County Road 42 that's scheduled to let this year. So that's why the asterisk by the 70. It was a $330,000 bid we got in, so our 20% match is going to be 70. Now, this hasn't always came from 111, but 63 came from 111, so if 42 comes from 111, we're looking at another 70,000 coming out. 92, County Road 92 is scheduled to start this week, Wednesday or Thursday, and that's gonna be about 300,000. It was near 400,000 if you remember on the bid, but it's gonna be about 300,000. It's gonna come out of 111, and I'm being safe again on that because there's 124,000 that's gonna be material costs, so 124, that'll come out of 100, at least 300, safe number, come from 111. Then we got the concrete pavement project that we were gonna use severed material tax from. We had thought 330 or 340 maybe on it. We're working on plans now and that'll go out soon, but we don't have those numbers in, so as you can see there from that 119 balance, there's 316,000 in there. And if it's 330, then we got another 30,000 that could come out of 111. So that puts us at 700 if you consider all those obligations. And this was a $350,000 project, so you see how close we're going to be to our total amount that we have. So I don't know that I can recommend pulling the trigger right now, but I still wanted to share this information so as to maybe guide us in how we want to do funding on these federal aid projects or any other thing should there be other considerations.
And this bridge project would not qualify for any type of grant that we know of, or, it wouldn't be a candidate to be just with for federal aid, for the federal route. Those dollars, would it?
Yeah, for our federal aid resurfacing project, yeah, we could do it with resurfacing dollars, federal aid allotment dollars. I say we can do it. We're moving into different categories with it. So we're gonna go a federal aid route with federal dollars supporting that. So there'll be different considerations that we will have to take into, such as guardrail retrofits and things of that nature, where we may be able to minimize costs, be it with local dollars. We could still do it with those dollars, but it could be, more costly.
Yeah.
And as far as us turning to industry to guide us on our specs, that's all something we would have to satisfy ALDOT with, and, which is fine, but it's just it's a different game, honestly. So it's gonna take a lot of review time to get through ALDOT. It's gonna take their concurrence with specs and plans, and it's gonna take full compliance with anything to do with federal dollars in retrofitting, bridge rail, anything to make it compliant with today's standards.
Questions? Anything else, Mr. Chairman?
That's it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for putting it together.
Anything from the sheriff's department?
No, sir.
Mr. Porter?
Thanks.
Commissioners, Mr. Sis?
No, I just want to mention one thing, and then you talked about here like a few months ago about this building lease coming up for DHR. We need a follow-up on that, so I need to talk again. Say something about that. It's gonna be here before we know it.
Ms. Gilbert?
Just what Mr. Guffey mentioned about changing the meeting, we need to talk about that.
Yeah, June the 5th is June the 4th, the holiday, June the 5th is voting day, so normally our meeting would be pushed to that Tuesday, but since it's gonna be election day, I would say we move it to the following Monday, and let's just do a work session and meeting like we've done in the past.
We just have to put a notice up in that time.
Yeah, Bob could give us a notice for that, if that's all right with everybody else. Is that good with you?
I'm fine.
Good. There's nothing else. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Right.